Hi everyone. I wanted to share with you today what happened at my Down to Earth audition. It was really quite interesting. You have to understand it was one of my first major auditions, so I really wasn't used to the system at that point. Anyway, the casting director called my agent and said they wanted to see me for this very small role. Of course, I was excited even at a small role at that point in time, and I went down the next day to audition, and there in the room with me were the directors, Paul and Chris Weitz. They had just come off of rather a very successful film called American Pie. So I was excited about even the prospects of just meeting them, quite frankly. So anyways, I did my bit, et cetera, et cetera. They said, well, thank you, and basically, we'll call you if we need you. Okay, so I left, and I was pretty down because I don't know, I thought, what the hell, I didn't do very well. I'll never hear from them again. So a couple of days later, I called my agent and I said, anything happening on the Down to Earth thing? No, nothing. He said, you probably would have heard by now if you had gotten it. I go, well, okay. So I put it out of my mind completely. And then about, I guess, 2 weeks later, I get a call from my agent and they said, listen, Paul and Chris Weiss want to see you, but they want to see you in their hotel. It was the Sutton Place on Bay Street in Toronto, and I thought, holy crikey, why are they calling me to audition at the hotel? So he said, my agent said that it sounds good, and I thought, whoa, why the hotel for such a small part? He said, well, they're not asking you to come to audition for that part. They want you to come and audition for the Charles Wellington role, which of course is support principal. And I thought, oh my God, what the hell does this mean? Anyway, I was really nervous, and I go down and I'm trying to get onto their floor. There was lots of security. It was the 16th floor of the Sutton Place Hotel. So I get off the elevator and the security guard's there, and he says, yes, you can just go right down to the end of the hall there. And as I'm going down, there are two chairs out front. And there's a guy standing right at the door. And just as I pull up to the front door, a gentleman comes out about my age, and they said, Paul and Chris Weiss were both there, and they said, listen, thanks for coming. We'll be in touch with you very soon, actually, if we're going to proceed. And I'm standing there thinking, God, he's auditioning for the part. And oh my God, he looks so much more like the businessman type, etc. So right as he was leaving, Paul, I think it was, Weiss said, Brian, just come on in. And so as I walk in the door, right in front of me are Chris Rock and Eugene Levy, and they just look at me and says, hi, and then they walked by me, and then they were saying to Paul and Chris, okay, we'll see you tomorrow. All right, see you, Chris. See you, Eugene. And I'm in this damn environment where I'm saying, holy crikey, whoa, this is incredible, right? So then, Brian, they say, just come on over here, sit down again, Chris and Paul. And so I go and sit down, and they just start chatting with me. And it lasted about a minute and a half, 2 minutes at the most. And they said, well, thanks for coming. And the first thing that went into my mind was, oh, Jesus, I've blown this. And I wanted to say something I can do, but no, I just was quite saddened by the whole thing, and because they had said to me what they had said to the guy who just left, and I assumed they had other people that were coming in. Anyway, so I walked out, said goodbye, and I'm going down the hall, down the elevator, and I am just getting more and more and more sad. I get into my car, and I was so pissed off. I had to think about this on an 80, 90 kilometer drive home, way up in the boonies that I think I told you about, north of Toronto on the Niagara Escarpment. And I was so ticked off, I shut down my phone. I just didn't want to be bothered. I was even contemplating, I'm not sure I like this process. Rejection is a big part of it, and I'd just been massively rejected, in my opinion, anyways. And so, long drive home, and keep in mind, cell phones weren't what they were then. I guess this is 2001, 2002. And so I was going into all sorts of dead areas anyway. So, the phone was shut off, and I get home, and of course I'm so ticked off. I just grabbed a beer, went out in the backyard, or on the deck, I think it was. I'm not, if I can't. Yeah, I think it was in the backyard. Or no, it was downstairs and I just put on a TV show in the family room. Anyway, I am just so teed off. And then I got a phone call ringing at 11 o'clock at night. And it was on the house line. And just so happened I was downstairs when it called, so I heard it. I even had it turned down a bit. And it was my agent. And he said, "Where the hell have you been?" I said, "Well, just driving home." "Well, you got the role. You got to be there tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Sorry, at 8:30. Well, I was a happy camper to say the least, but I often wonder what the hell would have happened if I didn't answer the phone line. Would they have gone with somebody else or not? Anyway, it just goes to show you, and this is the point I want to make. When you're in an audition, it's not what you think that's happening is the most important part of the audition. It's what they see. You may think you've done the worst job you could possibly do, but the truth be told, they might think you're great. So you never want to acknowledge what you're thinking. Don't ever say, "Oh my goodness, I've done a terrible job. Let me do that again." Nah, don't do that, because they might be thinking in the back of their mind, "This guy's great." So I wanted to share that little story with you. And I'm kind of excited about today as well, because I think I alluded to a story a week ago where this young girl, Michelle, was at this Actors Jam that I'm working with. And I think I told you the story about how she had never really been in front of a camera before, and how she got the urge to do so, came in and saw us, and I thought she was very good for a starter. So tonight she's coming back, and she's going to be doing her monologue as well as a small two-player scene. So I'm going to ask her if I can record that so that we can share it with you guys. And I'll get back to you on that probably tomorrow. So listen, thanks very much for your time. And I look forward to the next installment of the blog. You take care. Bye-bye.